They think I'm just the packer. The girl with the chemical burns on her hands who tapes up the boxes. My mother, Patricia, stood under the studio lights of our family's glass-walled mansion in Los Angeles, her face glowing with expensive makeup and smug satisfaction. Next to her was my younger sister Madison, the 24-year-old face of the brand, holding a jar of our best-selling Miracle Cream like it was the Holy Grail. I watched from the shadows of the doorway, invisible as always. On the screen of my phone, the viewer count on their global livestream ticked past 50,000. Madison flashed her perfect, veneered smile at the camera. People always ask me how I came up with this formula, she purred, her voice dripping with false modesty. Honestly, it just came to me in a dream. I spent weeks in my private lab mixing and testing until it was perfect. I wanted to give the world something pure. Why? A $50 million lie. Madison had never stepped foot inside a lab. She wouldn't know the difference between retinol and rubbing alcohol if it was labeled. The formula was mine. Every milligram, every stabilizing agent, every sleepless night spent in the sweltering heat of the converted garage while they slept in air-conditioned luxury upstairs. It was all mine. My brother Tyler, our useless chief financial officer, laughed from off-camera. That's genius, sis. And hey, don't worry about shipping delays, folks. We've got the packing staff working double shifts downstairs. Madison giggled. Oh right. My sister Sarah's down there somewhere. She's not really the creative type like us. She prefers manual labor. Honestly, we just let her pack boxes to keep her busy. It's better for everyone if she stays out of sight. The comments section flooded with laughing emojis. Poor Sarah. The ugly sister. At least she's useful. I stared at the screen. I didn't cry. I didn't storm in and scream. I just felt a cold, sharp click in my chest like a lock snapping shut. They were about to sign a contract selling the company, my company, to a global conglomerate for $50 million. They thought they were selling an empire. They had no idea they were selling a hollow shell. Because in my pocket, folded inside a cheap plastic phone case, was a piece of paper they had forgotten about years ago. A single tax document that proved I wasn't just the packer. I was the owner. Before I tell you how a single piece of tax paperwork destroyed their entire empire in 15 minutes, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from, and have you ever let someone take credit for your hard work just to keep the peace? I want to hear your story. To understand why I stayed in that garage for 5 years, sweating through my clothes while my sister lived like a princess upstairs, you have to understand the pill bottle. It sat on my nightstand from the time I was 14 years old, a bright orange cylinder that felt less like medicine and more like a brand of shame. I remember the day I got it. I had been sick for months, dealing with pain so sharp it doubled me over and irregular cycles that terrified me. Finally, Patricia sighed, checked her watch, and drove me to a free clinic in downtown Los Angeles because she refused to put me on the family's premium health insurance plan. The doctor was kind. He told us it was polycystic ovary syndrome or POS. He explained it was a common hormonal imbalance, easily managed with medication. But that's not what my mother heard. She heard, expensive. She heard liability. On the ride home she didn't comfort me. She didn't tell me I would be okay. She gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white and looked at me with pure, unadulterated disgust. The doctor was being polite because he had to be, she hissed. But I know what this is. Sturdy blood, Sarah. It's a sign of wickedness. Your body is rejecting you because you are fundamentally broken inside. She tossed the prescription for birth control pills onto my lap. You take these to hide your shame. You take these so you don't embarrass this family. But don't you ever think you're normal. You are a burden. I was 14. I believed her. I swallowed those pills every morning along with the belief that I was damaged goods, that I deserved to be hidden away in the dark mixing chemicals because I wasn't fit for the light. That lie was the cage she built around me. But the lock? She forged the lock herself on my 18th birthday. I had just graduated high school. I wanted to go to college for chemistry, but Patricia laughed at the idea. She needed me in the lab. She sat me down at the kitchen table, sliding a thick document toward me. Since you're an adult now, she said, her voice clipped and businesslike, we need to formalize your arrangement. I'm not going to carry you as a dependent anymore. She pointed to the signature line. This says you work for Pure Life as an independent contractor. A 1099 worker. I hesitated. Does this mean I get health insurance? Patricia scoffed as if I had asked for a private jet. Insurance is for employees, Sarah. Employees cost me payroll taxes. Employees get benefits. You are a contractor. I am not paying thousands of dollars a year to insure someone with your issues. You buy your own medicine with what I pay you. Sign it or get out. I was terrified of the world, terrified of my own body, so I signed. I signed the document that classified me as a freelancer, a separate entity from the company. I signed it because I thought I had no choice. Patricia smiled as she filed the paper away. He thought she was a genius. She thought she had just saved herself $5,000 a year in taxes and insurance premiums. She was so blinded by her own greed that she didn't read the fine print of the United States copyright law. She didn't know that while work created by an employee belongs to the company, work created by an independent contractor, without a specific written assignment of rights, belongs to the creator. She wanted to save a few pennies on insurance. In doing so, she accidentally handed me the ownership of a billion-dollar idea. She thought she was putting a leash on a dog. She didn't realize she was handing the dog the deed to the house. The live stream ended with a round of applause from the production crew. Madison was busy taking selfies with the catering staff, and Patricia was on the phone with her lawyers, probably counting the millions she thought were coming her way. I slipped out of the shadows and made my way to the kitchen. My stomach was twisting. I hadn't eaten since breakfast, a granola bar I'd snuck while mixing the emulsifiers for the morning batch. The kitchen island was covered in the remnants of their celebratory dinner. Filet mignon, truffle mashed potatoes, roasted asparagus. The smell was intoxicating. I reached for a plate, my hand hovering over a piece of steak that had been left on a serving platter. It was cold, but to me it looked like a feast. Hey! A hand slapped mine away hard. I pulled back, nursing my wrist. Tyler was sitting at the counter, scrolling through Tinder with one hand and holding a glass of scotch with the other. He looked at me with a sneer that curled his upper lip. "What do you think you're doing?" he asked. "I'm hungry, Tyler. It's just leftovers." "Leftovers?" He laughed, grabbing the steak with his bare fingers. "This is prime beef, Sarah. We don't waste prime beef on the help." He whistled. "Prince, come here, boy." Our purebred golden retriever trotted into the kitchen, tail wagging. Tyler held the steak out. "Who's a good boy? You want some steak?" "Yeah, you do." He dropped the meat onto the floor. The dog inhaled it in seconds, licking the grease from the expensive tile. Tyler wiped his hands on a linen napkin and threw it at me. "There. Now the plate is clean. If you're hungry, I think there's some instant noodles in the pantry. Go eat in the garage. You smell like sulfur and desperation. You're ruining my appetite." Patricia walked in just in time to see it. She didn't scold him. She didn't tell him to treat his sister with basic human dignity. She just wrinkled her nose. "He's right, Sarah. You reek of chemicals. Go downstairs before you stink up the upholstery. We have guests coming tomorrow." I looked at the dog licking his chops. I looked at my brother smirking at me. I looked at my mother who couldn't even bear to look me in the eye. I picked up the packet of instant noodles and walked back to the door that led to the garage. You might wonder why I didn't scream. Why I didn't throw the noodles in his face. That's the thing about cruelty. When it happens every day, it stops feeling like an event. It becomes the weather. It becomes the gravity holding you to the floor. Psychologists call it normalization. It's a trap your brain sets for you to keep you sane. You stop asking, why are they doing this? And start asking, how do I survive this? For 15 years I had normalized the abuse. I had convinced myself that if I just worked harder, if I just made the perfect cream, if I just stayed quiet enough, they would eventually see me. I thought I was paying my dues. I didn't realize I was just digging my own grave. I walked down the stairs into the stifling heat of the workspace, listening to them laugh upstairs. They thought they had broken me. They didn't know that normalization has a breaking point. And tonight, watching a dog eat better than I did, I finally heard the snap. The makeup artist was a genius. I had flown him in from Hollywood using a fraction of my lottery winnings, setting him up in a hotel downtown so my family wouldn't catch wind of it. It took him 3 hours to turn my left hand into a nightmare. He used latex, paint, and medical-grade adhesive to create the illusion of advanced chemical necrosis. The skin looked black and peeling, with weeping sores that oozed a convincing yellow fluid. It looked like something that smelled of death. I stared at it in the mirror of the gas station bathroom a mile from the house. It was grotesque. It was perfect. This was the test. I needed to know once and for all if there was a single shred of humanity left in them. I needed to know if they would choose their own flesh and blood over their profit margins. I needed to know if I was a daughter or just a machine part that could be discarded when broken. I drove back to the glass house, my heart hammering a cold rhythm against my ribs. I walked through the front door, clutching my wrist, letting out a moan of genuine-sounding agony. They were in the living room, discussing the final details of the acquisition deal. Patricia was on the phone with her lawyers. Madison was looking at fabric swatches for her victory outfit. Tyler was playing a video game on his phone. I stumbled and fell to my knees in the center of the room. "Mom!" I screamed, my voice raw. "Help me. Please." The room went silent. Patricia lowered her phone. Madison looked up, annoyed. I unwrapped the bandage I had draped over my hand, revealing the horror underneath. "It's the new solvent," I sobbed, thrusting the mangled, rotting limb toward them. "It ate through the gloves. The doctor said it's gangrene. He said if I don't get surgery tonight, the infection will spread to my heart. I'll die, Mom." Madison shrieked and scrambled back over the couch, covering her mouth. "Oh my God. Sarah, cover that up. I'm going to throw up. Get it away from me." I crawled toward Patricia, tears streaming down my face. Real tears born of the adrenaline of the performance. I need $5,000, I begged. The surgery isn't covered because I'm a contractor. I don't have the money. Please, Mom. Just $5,000. I'll pay you back. I'll work for free for the rest of my life. Just save my hand. Patricia didn't move. She didn't rush to hold me. She didn't call 911. She stared at my hand with the same expression she used when inspecting a defective shipping container. 5,000. Tyler scoffed from his chair, not even looking up from his game. Are you kidding me? I just put a deposit down on the new Porsche. I'm tapped out until the deal closes. Why didn't you save your own money? You know, for a rainy day. Tyler, it's my hand. I screamed. I might lose it. So, he muttered. You have to. I looked at my mother. The woman who birthed me. The woman who claimed to be building a legacy of wellness and care. Mom, please. Patricia sighed. It was a heavy, burdened sigh, as if I were the one hurting her. She walked over to her purse, pulled out her checkbook, and hesitated. Then she put it back. Sarah, she said, her voice calm and terrifyingly reasonable. We are 48 hours away from the biggest deal of our lives. Every cent of liquidity is tied up in escrow. I cannot withdraw $5,000 right now. It would trigger an audit. It would spook the buyers. But my hand. If it's really that bad, she said, looking me dead in the eye, maybe you should just let them amputate. A prosthetic is cheaper than emergency vascular surgery, isn't it? Besides, you don't need fine motor skills to screw lids onto jars. You can do that with a hook. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled $5 bill and a bottle of over-the-counter ibuprofen. She tossed them onto the floor in front of me. Take a pill. Wrap it in duct tape so you don't drip on the merchandise. We have 3,000 units to ship by morning. If you're not in the garage in 10 minutes, don't bother coming back at all. I stared at the ibuprofen bottle. The world seemed to stop spinning. There was the answer. They didn't just hate me. They didn't just use me. They were willing to let me be dismembered to save a few dollars and a production schedule. The sobbing stopped. The shaking stopped. I looked up at my mother, and for the first time in my life I didn't see a parent. I saw a target. Patricia pulled a document from her briefcase. It was crisp white and looked incredibly official. She crouched down next to me, careful not to let her tailored trousers touch the floor where I was kneeling. This is an intellectual property transfer, she said, her voice soft, like she was talking to a wounded animal she was about to put down. It just says that any work you did in the garage belongs to Pure Life. It's a formality, really. The buyers want a clean chain of title. She slid a fountain pen toward me. Sign this, Sarah. $500. Enough for the year. But you sign first. $500. That was what my work, my pain, my hands were worth to her. I looked at the pen. Then the crumpled bill on the floor. And I stopped crying. The shift was instant. I stood up, steady, calm, and for the first time saw my mother clearly. Not powerful, just desperate. Give me the pen. Greed won over suspicion. He handed it to me. I signed without reading. The paper meant nothing. Coercion would shred it in court. I was giving them the rope. Tell the money. She dropped the cash on the table and told me to leave. I walked out without looking back. Once outside, I went to my car and peeled off the fake injury. My hand was fine. Always had been. I called Mr. Washington. They're moving forward with the sale tomorrow. Good. The mortgage is already in default. We'll buy it tonight. Do it. I want the house before morning. The next day, the glass house became a live stream set. Cameras. Smiles. Talk of legacy and empowerment. $50 million on the table. They were waiting for the investor. I walked in. White power suit. Security detail. Mr. Washington behind me. Silence. I sat in the CEO's chair and looked into the camera. Hello. I'm the investor. Panic erupted, but it was too late. Mr. Washington revealed the truth. I owned the formula, the patent, the trademark. As an independent contractor, I had never assigned the rights. I revoke the license, I said calmly. Pure Life is closed. Their empire collapsed in real time. Then came the final blow. I also own the mortgage, I added. You're in default. You have 30 days to vacate. I left as they unraveled behind me. Outside, I dropped my old rubber gloves into the trash. Forgiveness isn't access. Its release. I drove away without looking back. For the first time in my life, I wasn't surviving someone else's control. I was in the driver's seat.